Hi guys, happy learning day. I am talking to both my math class and Miss Curry's math class. So if you're in Miss Curry's class, you found this video in Mrs. Barton's CKLA course. But below this video, you should have your math assignment for today, and then also expectations for doing your ALEKS quick tables and your ALEKS path for about 15 minutes along with the assignment. So that's all you have to do for math today. If you guys want to go ahead and open up your math journal, page 184, explaining the equivalent fractions rule, and we will go through a couple together, and then whatever we don't do together, you're going to do on your own, and then once your math journal is finished, you will hit submit, and that'll be your assignment. Okay, let me get this in student view first. Hopefully this will pull up and work. Here we go. Okay, so for this assignment, you're going to be using this student annotation setup, which my class practiced on Friday. But you'll see here, depending on your Chromebook, if it feels like it's really small, you can use this arrow to open it up really big. And then, let me move my face out of the way. Up here at the top, the only tools that you will need to use for today really is just the text box tool. So the text box tool is right here. And we're just going to type in our greater than, less than, or equal to symbols in order to fill out these this first number 1. And then we're also going to type in our fractions here. I'm going to show you how to do that. Type in your response. And then again, we're going to type in our fraction answers in this table and then type in our response. And that's it, guys. So just follow along with me. If you have a notebook or a piece of paper at home that you can put your name on, you can put e-learning, math, whatever you want to. I am going to have my students turn this paper in when we return to school because I do want to see your math thinking. I do want to see your work because it is just a very short math journal page, okay? So to get us started, let's do 1A. So 1A on my paper, I have it kind of like this, okay? All right, so we see here it's 5 times 1/2. Now again, some of us could probably do that in our head, but I'm gonna write down that 5 times 1/2 is actually 5/1 times 1/2. And when I solve across using our multiplication strategy, right, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, I'm going to end up again with 5 divided by 2, okay, because 5 times 1 is 5 and 1 times 2 is 2. So 5/2 really just says 5 divided by 2. Now, 2 can't go into 5 evenly, but you can make 2 groups, right, because 2 times 2 is 4. And then when you subtract 5 minus 4, you're left with 1. So our mixed number answer is 2.5, right? 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. Now, when we're using this fill in the blank sentence, now 5 times 1/2 says 2.5, comparing it to 5. And we know that 5 times 1/2 is going to be less than 5 because our answer is 2.5, and 2.5 is less than 5. So to type in your less than symbol, it's going to be next, it's going to be like on the right side of your keyboard, next to shift, question mark, then you have the greater than symbol, and then you have the less than symbol. So we're going to type in less than. Notice that it's kind of small. Up at the top, click the largest size for today, and then I would also recommend clicking like red or something, another color that might stand out. Please don't select like yellow or something hard to kind of see. Okay, to move your answer, if you don't like the placement, make sure you click on the arrow and then you can kind of select and drag where it needs to be, okay? All right, so we've got 5 times 1/2 is less than 5. Let's do one more of these together and then you will solve the rest on your own. So going back to my piece of paper, let's go ahead and do B. So taking a look at B, we have 5 times 5 times 2 and 1/3. Okay, so a couple different things you can do here. When you're looking at this problem, right, anytime you're multiplying a whole number by a whole number, your product, your answer is going to get bigger. So we can already kind of work smarter, not harder here and say, okay, if we're comparing 5 times 2 in something to just 5, we already know this side is going to be bigger because 5 times 2 alone is 10, right? And 10 alone is greater than 5. So we do already know this side's going to be bigger, but I am going to show my work to prove that it is in fact greater than. So how would I do this? Well, I can write down my whole numbers first, right? 5 times 2, which like I just said is 10. So I've got 5 times 2 on my paper equals 10. And now I'm going to show how I take that 5 times that 1/3. So 5 times 1/3 is really like saying 5 over 1 times 1 over 3. Okay, so here's what my math journal looks like. And when I multiply across, I've got 5 times 1, which is 5, and 1 times 3, which is 3. And what that really says all together is my 5 times my 2, which is my whole number 10. So I have a whole number 10, and then my fraction is 5/3. Now I know that that's improper. So to make that proper, 3 can go into 5 one time, which makes that 10 actually 11, right? And then when I do 5 minus 3, I'm left with 2, and my denominator stays 3. So when looking at my work, and if you need to pause the screen, you can pause. I know that 11 and 2/3 is greater than 5. So that's how I proved it, even though mentally you might be able to go, oh, well, 5 times 2 is already greater than 5, so I can go ahead and put a greater than symbol. But we want to make sure we put our work down. Okay, that's really large. We'll see what happens here. Okay, so I hit shift and then my greater than symbol, and then I'm going to need to move that a little bit. There we go. Okay, so just like what we had just done for A and B, okay, and looking at my work for A and B, I want you to go and solve for C, D, and E on your piece of paper, and then typing in your greater than, less than, or equal to symbols, okay? And then press play when you're ready to move on, because we're just going to keep going. Okay, so moving on to this number 2 or second section. We are going to write 3 fractions that are equivalent to 1. Okay, this is just a quick review, guys. Remember, any digit over itself. So when the numerator and the denominator match, no matter what number they are, that's one whole. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. There's no need to show work on your piece of paper for this because this is really easy review. We should already know this from 4th grade. So 3 fractions that are equivalent to 1. Well, let's just start small. Okay, just keep it simple for ourselves. So 1 over 1 is 1 whole, but 2 over 2 is also 1 whole. Now, when you go to write your fractions on your keyboard, okay, you're going to type in your digit, and then your backslash is also the same key as your question mark. So when you hit shift, question mark, it gives you a question mark, but if you just hit that key, it gives you the backslash. This is a little bit big, so we're going to bring it down a little bit, and then we're going to shift it over and put it where we need to place it. Okay, so I want you to continue to fill in the last 2. You can pick any numbers as long as they're the same on top and bottom, then you created a fraction equal to 1. So go ahead and pause the video, fill those 2 out, and then press play when you're ready to keep going. Okay, so looking at B, using the fractions we wrote here, okay, so this is very dependent on what you put, you are then going to write 3 equivalent fractions to 4/5 by taking your fractions equivalent to 1 and multiplying them by 4/5, right? So here's our example already done for us. We have our 4/5. If we were to take 4/5 and multiply it by 3 over 3, then equivalent fraction would be 12/15. Why? Because when we use our rule of multiplying our numerators and denominators to get a fraction, we have 4 times 3, which is 12, and 5 times 3, which is 15. So 12/15 is equivalent to 4/5 because we multiplied both numerator and denominator by 3. So you're going to go and you're going to do that for the other 2 that you had typed. So let's go ahead and do what our answer or equivalent fraction would be if we multiplied it by 2 over 2. Okay, so on my paper, I'm going to write, okay, number 2b, And since we did 2 over 2 as our first one, I'm going to write, okay, 4/5 times 2 over 2. So this is how my work would look, right? 4/5 times 2 over 2. And then I would just multiply my numerators across and my denominators. So 4 times 2 is 8, and 5 times 2 is 10. So then I'm going to type, got to change it to the T, click and type 8/10, 8\10 is equivalent to 4/5. Oh goodness, okay, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Here we go. I just meant to hit this arrow button. Okay. And again, if you want to make it a little smaller, that's fine. But I'm okay with that size. Okay, so 8/10 is equivalent to 4/5. So now you need to take whatever you put in this second one, whether it was 4 over 4 or 5 over 5 or another number over another number, and you need to multiply that by 4/5 to get another equivalent fraction. And then take the third one you created or came up with, multiply it by 4/5, and then come up with your third equivalent fraction. All right, again, you should have that work on your paper to show how you got your equivalent fractions. So then let's talk about C. Explain how you know that the fractions you found in part B are equivalent to 4/5. So guys, remember, anything times 1 equals itself. So for example, when I do 2 times 1, that's 2. When I do 5 times 1, that's 5. So even if I'm doing a fraction times 1, it's going to be that fraction. So if I had 4/5 times 1, technically it's still 4/5. Now when you replace the 1 whole with any number top and bottom, it still is the same amount as 1 whole, but because those digits are different, right, you are creating an equivalent fraction that's still equal to that original factor, okay, that original fraction. So when we go to type in our answer here, I'm going to go ahead and help you out with this explanation. So click your T for your text box, okay? So for example, I'll move this a little bit for you. I multiplied, and this text box, we'll see what happens as it gets bigger, but this is what we're going to type. So I multiplied 4/5, and I might have to make this text smaller, by the same number in the numerator, numerator, and in the denominator, which is like multiplying 4/5 by 1. So just like what I had said. Okay, any number times 1 equals itself, which is what I said earlier, right? So the product has to be equivalent to 4/5. Equivalent, there we go, to 4/5. Okay, and because it does kind of go over a little bit, I am going to make this just a little smaller and see what happens. Okay, well, just kidding. I'm going to keep the medium size and just kind of move it up a little bit for you guys. There we go. That's fine. Okay. So if you need to pause the video now to type this up for your assignment, that's what I would do. Is just pause and then go type that up and then come back. Okay, so now for number 3, okay, and this is again where your paper is going to need, you're going to need your paper because I'm going to want to see your work on this one. So for number 3, we have these original fractions here on the left side, 2/3, 3/4, 5/6, and 1/2. They can all be rewritten as an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 12, okay, meaning all of these denominators are factors of 12. Okay, you can take these denominators and multiply them by something to get you exactly 12. So for our first example, since it's thirds, we know something times 3 gives us exactly 12. and that something or that number would be 4. So to find a common denominator or an equivalent fraction, we would take 2/3 times 4/4, which again is also like saying times 1, to get a fraction over 12. So we have 3 times 4, which is 12, and 2 times 4, which is 8. Okay? So now looking at this one. So on my paper, I'm going to write, okay, 3, and I'm just going to call this 3b. Okay, since it's the second one. Okay, so on my paper, I'm going to write 3/4 times. And then I'm going to put a fraction bar, kind of like this, but I'm going to leave it blank. And this number, sorry, can't see, this number is what's going to go in that fraction name for 1 as soon as we figure it out. But then I'm going to put equals, and then I'm going to put 12 as my denominator. So it looks kind of like this. Now, writing it like this will help my brain think about, okay, what number times 4 gave me 12? Well, I just kind of did that in the one above, but it was opposite, right? So what times 4 gives me 12? Well, 3. So for my second factor then, I'm going to write 3/3. So now I have 3/4 times 3/3 equals something over 12. Well, now I just multiply my numerators across. So 3 times 3 is 9. So my answer is 9/12 in the right column, and in the middle column is 3/3. Okay, so when I go to type this in, I'm going to hit the text box, and in my middle one, okay, what fraction name for 1 did I multiply by? 3/3. What equivalent fraction do I get? 3 times 3 was 9 in our denominators. 4 times 3 was 12. So we know we're creating equivalent fraction for 12. So guys, technically all of your denominators over here will be 12, right? So that's a big hint. Okay, now I know this is not up and down like in the other ones, but that's okay. They're the same thing. Okay, so now you're going to pause the video and you're going to solve. Okay, what am I going to take? So what whole am I going to take times 5/6 to give me something over 12? So what times 6 gives me 12? And then that's going to be that number I'm multiplying top and bottom by 5/6 to get a fraction over 12. And then the same thing for 1/2. What am I going to multiply 1/2 by to get something over 12? Okay? So don't forget to put that work on your piece of paper. And then if you need to pause the video, you can, and then come back for my explanation for number 4. Okay, explanation for number 4. Pick one fraction name for 1, so one of these in the middle, that you used in problem 3. How do you know the fraction is equivalent to 1? Okay, how do you know that these fractions all equal 1? So try your best to type that in your own words for number 4. And when you're finished, you guys will just click on these arrows to make it small again. And on this page, guys, you will see this blue submit assignment button. Do not hit it until you have it completely finished, because if you hit it before then, it will make you reattempt it and start all over again. Okay, so you may hit submit assignment, and then you guys will spend at least 15 minutes doing your ALEKS path, and then you need to complete an ALEKS quick table session for today. So whether you're on multiplication or division, you need to complete your ALEKS quick table session for today. And then that's it. If you have questions or need help with any of this work, from 1 to 2 p.m. will be our Google Meet session for asking and answering questions. It is not a teaching session. It is not a have to Google Meet. It is only for students who need help or clarification or just need some more examples. If you're in Miss Curry's class, your Google Meet, you will type in Curry 5, because that's what room number you are. So it'll be capital C, Curry, no space, 5. And then if you're in my math class, it's going to be Johnson 2. Okay, capital J for Johnson, no space between Johnson and 2, just Johnson 2. And again, that's only if you have questions or need help. Otherwise, you don't have to come to the Google Meet. As long as you do your work, hit submit, you will be considered present for the day. Okay? go have fun, stay warm, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.